In different sports, you may fatigue at different stages. This is where your muscle fibers tire and you start to become uncomfortable. For example, in a 100-meter sprint, you will be at maximal intensity and it is at a low duration. As your muscles are working maximally, it will contain fast glycolytic fibers and these will fatigue very quickly. In a marathon, it is around 26 miles, therefore you will be exercising submaximally instead of maximally as you need your muscles to stay strong for a much longer period of time. These muscle fibers would be fast oxidative glycolytic fibers. In a sprint, the recovery is very slow as your muscles are not being used for a long time, so it has a lot more time to recover. However, in a marathon, you could be running for around 4 to 5 hours, so your muscles will not have anywhere near as much time to recover than someone sprinting 100 meters. To analyze exercise, you can measure their heart rate, breathing rate, blood pressure, temperature, lactate, and more. This would give good criteria in how exercise affects your body and how long it takes for your body to change significantly, which could be suggesting that you're close to fatiguing. Professional athletes such as footballers should have a very healthy body as they have adapted through years of training, meaning they will fatigue slower and recover quicker. There are 3 types of fatigue in the physiological world called local, general and chronic fatigue. Local fatigue is where you're working your muscle to the maximum and doing repeated contractions. This is within the muscles and is aimed to grow the muscles. The sport that could be used in this is weightlifting. Another type of fatigue is general fatigue. This is where you have just finished an exercise or during an exercise and you are tired and weak. This can be physically or psychologically. Sports that include this could be any team sport, athletics or any other exercise. It doesn't matter what duration or intensity. The last type of psychological fatigue is chronic fatigue. Physiological fatigue is chronic fatigue. This is where you have a weak immune system and could be drained or feeling quite sick. This may be because you've overtrained your body. For example, running a half marathon without training. You may also feel fatigue if you haven't recovered or warmed down properly. Without this, your body won't be able to gradually go back to normal. The main psychological fatigue is your mindset. This is down to courage and determination to complete something. For example, lifting heavy weights at the gym. If not believing you could do something, then it is even more harder to accomplish. It is how badly you want to do it. At high intensity and low duration, such as a 100-meter sprint, you will be using the ATP PC system. This system lasts around 10 seconds, which is a similar time for a 100-meter sprint. So, as the body needs ATP for the muscles, a molecule called phosphocreatine resynthesizes the ATP when the ATP becomes ADP. This is because ATP contains 3 phosphates and has to lose one in order to release energy. Therefore, it becomes ADP. The phosphocreatine will then give its own phosphate and resynthesize the ADP to become ATP again. This energy system does not give out any waste products. At maximal exercise, the ATP PC depletes. This is because there becomes less PC as the muscles are not able to have it anymore due to working at such a high intensity. As there isn't enough PC, it is a lot harder to resynthesize the ATP, so the content of it drops at the post-exercise. In the table, you can see that at the pre-exercise, the ATP content is around 24 millimoles, and the post-exercise is around 19, with fast glycolytic fibers. The consequence of this is that your power output may decrease as there isn't enough energy for your muscles to be working as it possibly can. This could affect a sprinter's performance as it could decrease their peak power if there isn't as much ATP. The table also shows that the PC content drops significantly from 79.3 kgdm to 5 kgdm. A way to increase PC supplement. This will increase the PC in the muscles and the ATP system will be more efficient. This would then help increase the runner's performance as there will be more ATP present. The recovery ratio is the adequate time needed needed to recover from the exercise, and for a 100-meter sprint it would not need to recover at all, as your muscles have not been working for a long duration. The graph on the left shows the depletion of PC in exercise. As you can see, the level of PC stores drop significantly when the exercise has started. This means it's harder to resynthesize the ATP as there are less phosphates, like I said. This would drop your power and energy, as there would not be as much energy released. At the recovery stage, the PC levels start to increase again because of help from the aerobic system, giving energy so the PC can resynthesize and will be able to release the phosphate again to resynthesize the ADP from ATP. Sports that include medium intensity and medium duration could be an 800-meter sprint. This would last more than 10 seconds, so the lactic acid energy system would have to be included. This system would become the dominant system after 10 seconds, and it is also anaerobic. The average time for an 800-meter race is around 3.5 minutes, so the lactic acid will be the only energy system used for the muscles to contract after the ATP PC is finished. The system, however, produces a waste product even though it's anaerobic, lactic acid. Lactic acid is very bad for your muscles as it breaks down and forms hydrogen ions and affects the muscles as it increases the acidity of it, so you'll lower the pH. This makes it harder for the muscles to use the lactic acid system, as the breakdown of glucose and glycogen will be harder as it reduces the efficiency of the enzymes. This is why the lactic acid system only lasts around 2 to 3 minutes, as the muscles would fatigue as it will become less and less efficient if it carries on with that system. Also, glucose depletes due to the lactic acid. As glycogen breaks down to form glucose, the effects of lactic acid on the enzyme to break it down will produce less glucose. Glycogen would also be depleted. This is a problem as it won't allow the system to work at its best, so it won't be able to produce such a high intensity. Also, this would fail to produce the 2 ATP that is produced, that is crucial for the contraction of the muscles and energy. This affects someone's performance in a sport such as an 800-meter race, because if the lactic acid is affecting the breaking down of the molecules in the 800 meters, then it can cause the runner to fatigue quicker. This would cause the runner to go slower and finish in a worse position. There is OBLA, which stands for onset of blood lactate accumulation. This essentially is where you've hit the wall in an exercise. It is the point where too much lactate is in your blood and you begin to rapidly fatigue. This is awful for an exercise as it can still take you out of it and you physically would not be able to finish it. The graph above to your right shows the workload at the beginning of the exercise. The lactate is around 1 millimole. As you can see, the lactate threshold occurs when you may start to fatigue a bit, but still can carry on at around 2 millimoles. When it gets to 4, this is where the OBLA will occur and you've hit the wall. This causes your workload to depreciate very quickly. The graph shows that the typical lactate performance in the 3 different intensities of exercise. As you can see, the sprinter's lactate increases rapidly as the muscles will be contracting very quickly. As the lactic acid gets produced when that happens, there will be loads of it. And for the middle distance and marathon runners, the build-up of lactic acid will take a lot longer as you are not working at such a high intensity, so the contraction won't be as quick, especially the marathon runner, as they will be working at submaximally in order to save the energy for the rest of the race. There are ways to improve your performance in a medium intensity such as an 800-meter race, and one way is glucose ingestion. This is where athletes can eat bars of sugar in order to increase their glucose. This would then cause more glucose to be broken down for the lactic acid system to be working more, therefore keeping up high energy. Another way is soda loading. This is where athletes drink baking soda. It helps lower the acidity in your muscles caused by the lactate, as baking soda is a base. However, this can be very dangerous as it is unhealthy. For a sport such as a marathon, you'll be working at submaximal intensity and the duration is very long. The dominant energy system used for this will be the aerobic system. This system produces the most energy, producing around 38 ATP. The process starts with the glycolysis system, which is the same as the lactic acid system, however it doesn't produce lactic acid. The molecules will break down into the prep steps of the system, then it will move into the Krebs cycle and then the electron transport chain. This system is very complicated, that's why it takes around 4 minutes to start to make a difference. The system releases many waste products such as water, carbon dioxide and heat, where the carbon dioxide is produced in the Krebs cycle and water is produced mainly around the whole of the system. In the marathon, your muscles will be working for hours, therefore carbon dioxide will be getting produced multiple times. This will also increase your breathing rate, as you would need more expiration for the carbon dioxide to leave your body. This may cause discomfort, as there will be a misbalance of expiration and inspiration. This could worsen your performance in a marathon. The production of heat in the muscles will affect the volume of oxygen that is getting given to the muscles, as the blood would redirect some of its blood to the skin to cool you down. In this aerobic system, you can train your body to burn fuels in order to save glycogen stores. For example, in a marathon, you could try and burn fats instead of perhaps carbohydrates that contain glycogen. This is very helpful, as fats such as adipose tissue contain over 80,000 calories of energy. This also helps save glycogen stores. Glycogen is needed for the lactic acid system, therefore more ATP can be made there. The respiratory exchange ratio is a good way to measure how much carbohydrates or fats you are using. To calculate your RER, you would divide the carbon dioxide released by the oxygen consumed. For example, if your RER is 1, then you'll be using 100% carbohydrates. This would mean you are working extremely hard and you are not saving any glycogen. If your RER is around 0.82, then you are using around 62% fat and 38% carbohydrates, meaning you've saved a bit of glycogen, which could mean your performance will be improved. This is shown on the table. On the graph on the right, it shows the glycogen depletion in 3 different types of exercise. At low intensity hydration, your glycogen stores will be very high, as your muscles will not be working as hard, so not much glycogen will be used. This means as there is more glycogen, there is more energy to be released, making the run of fatigue slower. In moderate intensity, the glycogen stores run out quickly as your muscles are working a lot harder, so more glycogen will be needed to be broken down so it depletes quicker. Same goes for the high intensity, where your muscles will be working even harder. In your neuromuscular system, there are 5 main ways for your muscles to receive an impulse properly and will cause to fatigue quicker. The first way is the reduction of calcium ions. Calcium is hugely significant for the impulse for the brain to reach the muscle to contract. This is because there is a blockage for the actin binding site to connect by troponin, where the myosin will connect the actin, causing the sliding filament theory. The calcium will knock the troponin out of the way and cause a crossbridge, where the impulse will be able to travel down the muscle. If there is less calcium available, then there will be more blockages, meaning the impulse will not be able to reach its destination and the muscle cannot contract. Another problem could be the amount of sodium and potassium in the axon of the neurons. At rest, on the outside of the axon, there are sodium ions and there are potassium ions. This is ready for an impulse to travel through it. When the impulse does travel through it, the sodium and potassium ions will swap positions. This is called depolarization. After the impulse has gone through, the ions would then return back to its position, where it's called repolarization. In exercise, there will be depletion of it, and when the process is happening, the impulses will be coming fast and the membrane won't be able to repolarize quick enough, and it might not be ready for the next impulse. Also, at the neuromuscular junction, there is acetylcholine. This has the job of transferring. Oh, that's not going to do it, is it? No.